Alright, this video is going to be about just the kind of the panic that they seem to be wanting to induce in everyone, and they've got us all fooled in a lot of ways, man. But first off, thanks for the subs, thanks for the likes, thanks for the comments. Appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for the tips. Appreciate every single one of you. And thanks for the Patreon support. Appreciate every single one of you. If you're interested in like the Illuminati and how this world got the way it is, go on my Patreon and I present all the evidence I've found, and if you can contradict any of it, I'm all ears. If you can prove me wrong on anything, I'm ready to change my mind. I'll put it to you that way. So in Western societies, as in like in America and Europe and just Western societies in general, they've got us tricked in a lot of ways. They've got us thinking that we've got the easiest, most cush lives that you can imagine, which in my opinion, that's not true at all. And in my opinion, we are the hardest working slaves on the planet who are getting the least in return for our work. We're generating the most money and we're getting the least percentage in return. That's my opinion. But see, here's the thing. They're always talking of, like, you see all these headlines on YouTube or on whatever social media. You'll see articles about food shortages and economic collapse and all this shit. Let me tell you something. Life would probably get a whole lot easier if this whole system collapsed. It doesn't seem that way because you think you need this whole system, but what you don't realize is that this whole system is designed to make you think that you are free, and that's its only purpose, really, because without it, they've got no way of sucking all your resources out of you. This whole thing is built to basically, you think like, oh, I gotta pay my bills. Here's the thing. You're paying this bill, you're paying that bill, you're paying for the food we're getting, you're paying like 10 times what it's actually worth. We're just getting ripped off left and right in more ways than I can even count. And the thing is that all the money that you think you're spending on all these bills and all, it all goes to the government. In the long run, it all gets funneled to them and to the people who control them. Some people are getting a little bit of a larger percentage than others, but for the most part, all the money's being funneled into one place. So the whole system is basically there to make you not realize that. You know what I mean? You think this is just how the world works. I've got to pay these bills and all this, but realistically, it's all just a big scam to have you generating resources that you're not getting to keep. I'll put it to you this way. If you had a piece of land and you worked 40 hours a week on that piece of land, you would be rich. You would have a lot. And I realized this when I was doing construction. I was like, all the work that I do, 8 hours of hard labor every day for 5 days a week, if I had a piece of land and I was working that hard, I would be generating so much money. But in the situation I'm in, I'm getting paid a couple of $100s a week for it. Human labor is worth a lot more than that, especially, if you're skilled, which I'm pretty skilled. I'm good with my hands. So my point is that if this entire system collapsed, you'd be better off. So don't worry about it. The land that we're on is so fertile and so rich that you could take any piece of land and grow your own food off it. And the wildlife that it's able to sustain, you could easily go out and hunt your own food. The other thing is, if you don't have all these regulations and this whole system in place, you can just go claim a piece of land and raise goats for meat. And you know what I mean? It would be to supply yourself with food and shelter, it's easy. It's not hard to do. Even running water, it's all easy. These are things that you could easily do. You don't need this whole system. So don't worry about it when they're talking about the system collapsing. I know they were just talking about the debt ceiling and this and that. To me, it's all a big joke. It doesn't like, oh, the debt ceiling, as if they're not just going to print more money anyway. Like, what what's the point in them even telling us about any of this when it's like it's all just a big lie. It's a big game. It's nonsense. So, none of it is real. You know what I mean? Like, I personally, I don't even get it. Who are we in debt to? Like, we're trillions, and if we're trillions and billions of dollars in debt, why are we sending trillions and billions of dollars to Ukraine? If we were really in debt, would we be doing that? Like, I mean, what kind of sense would that make? How stupid. The people in charge, how dumb could they be to be like, okay, we're on the verge of economic collapse. Let's send $50 trillion to Ukraine so that they can buy bombs. I mean, are you kidding me, dude? Like, how do we fall for this shit? I don't even get it. Like, these people, the Republicans and the Democrats, I'm talking about both of them. How do you realize how inept and friggin' stupid they would have to be in order to screw this up? You've got what's the population of the United States? It's like 300 million or something. You've got 300 million people generating resources and just giving them to you. How can you fuck that up? Like, how is that possible? If 300 million people are giving you $1 a day, which they're getting more than that, but it's like, even give me $300 million a day and watch me turn this country into the richest, most prosperous place on earth. You know what I mean? Like, it's all such, it's just insanity. It's, I mean, I don't know. I don't get how they got us to the point where we just accept it, where our leadership is so inept that the richest, most powerful country in the world with the most resources, I mean, just the oil and all the things that America can produce, how can there be shortages of anything? I mean, it's impossible. It's not like we live in a desert where there's nothing, you know what I mean? Then it would make sense. But here's the thing. If you get enough smart people together, they can make it work anywhere. In the desert, it doesn't matter. They're going to find a way to irrigate water. It's like they've just got us all so fooled and so confused that they can just tell us any bullshit story and we all just kind of believe it. And they've got us all afraid that the system that they need is going to collapse. We don't need this system, they do. So if they're so stupid that they can't maintain this system with all the money and all the resources being dumped on their heads constantly, let it collapse. Who cares? You're better off. You know what I mean? Look, just don't worry so much. I don't care what's happening. There's going to be opportunities, especially if you're a person who's willing to work and get things done. There's going to be opportunities. Human beings are the smartest, most resourceful creatures that ever existed on Earth. So I can tell you one thing. I don't care what happens. You're going to be all right 9 times out of 10, unless you're just completely and totally brainwashed to the point that you really believe that you can't do anything without this system. And I can tell you one thing. I've been existing outside of this system for a long time because I realized a long time ago that it cannot be relied upon because the people in charge can't be trusted. So, you know, the nail in the coffin for me was in 2008 when they managed to collapse the economy. The richest, most powerful economy that ever existed on Earth. They couldn't even maintain this because apparently a bunch of people the real estate bubble, they said. But let me tell you something. I noticed back then what really started messing the economy up was when gas prices started going up all of a sudden. So around 2000, I guess it must have been around 2005 or so, all of a sudden gas prices started going up. And I forget why. I don't remember why, but I was doing construction at the time, and I remember I couldn't tell you why the gas prices were going up, but they were. And it was scaring me because all of a sudden all the building supplies were getting more expensive, and all of a sudden a lot of the contractors on the jobs were working 10-hour days, 4 days a week, so they could save gas and have 3-day weekends. And I was like, so if you ask me, the real cause of that economic collapse in 2008, which they say is from the real estate bubble, I think it was from gas prices, personally. I mean, because once the gas prices started getting ridiculous, everything went up in price, and it went on like that for a couple of years until 2008, when all of a sudden there was no more construction work. Now, people, they say it was the real estate bubble or whatever, and to be honest, I don't even understand that. If someone can explain it in the comments, I'll read it and try to make sense of it. But to me, I'll put it this way. If I was in charge of America, if I was the king of America, and there was no one can, obviously I'd be listening to the people around me, but if I had the final say, my main concern would be cheap gas, because if the gas is cheap, everything else is going to be cheap. That's a fact. I wouldn't be dumping whatever 70% of our surplus into the army, because you don't need all that money to defend this country. What they're using that money for is to bomb other countries and go to war abroad. We don't need to be doing that. I don't really see the point in that. I guess they're all getting rich off it, but here's the thing. If it was up to me, I would cut the defense budget way down. I would encourage every American to be armed, and we would just go on the defense. We would stop trying to control the rest of the world. We'd be almost isolationists. You know what I mean? Like, just everything would be done inside America. All our manufacturing, everything. If it was up to me, that's how it would be. I mean, I guess I don't really, maybe I'm stupid, but I think that we've got more than enough resources right here to do everything we need to do, and we would all be better off for it. Yeah, they can get cheaper labor overseas, but here's the thing. We're not getting any of that. It's the people who own these manufacturing companies and shit. They're just pocketing all that money. You're not saving any money. Like back in the 80s and 90s, if you bought something made in China, you were getting it a lot cheaper. Nowadays, pretty much everything is made in China. You're not getting it cheaper. So I'll give you an example. The solar powered generator that I bought was made in China, made by a Chinese company. I got that generator. Now the price has gone up, but I got it for about $700 or $800 with an 80-watt solar panel, which I never really use. I bought a bigger solar panel. But my point is that if you had bought one of the name brand generators, which are made in China anyway, which are it's probably for the most part the same parts on the inside, you would have paid at least 2 to 3 times more what I paid for pretty much the same thing. I've had it for over a year, running a refrigerator off it, which my refrigerator is another cheap Chinese one. But here's the thing, the expensive ones are Chinese anyway, and they're made with the same parts. So I just, like, you're not saving all the manufacturing going overseas. They say, oh, we had to do that for the cheap labor, otherwise you'd be paying $1 million for everything. Like, no, that's not true. If the manufacturing was done here, you'd be paying the same, except the difference is the owners of the companies wouldn't be making ridiculous, insane profits. You know what I mean? So we're not benefiting from them sending everything overseas. And then another thing is, they make us think like oh, we need immigration, otherwise we're not gonna, like, white people don't want to do any of the work. I did construction until there was no construction to do. There was plenty of white people doing it. The other thing is, the Mexicans who are doing construction, they're not illegal immigrants. The illegal immigrants cannot get regular jobs. The regular jobs, at least in Florida, they can't hire illegal immigrants. The only people who can hire illegal immigrants are people who are doing things under the table and underpaying these people and working them to death. So the people on the left think like, oh, you're racist if you don't want immigration. Dude, they've got you fooled into encouraging these people to come to America and then just get completely robbed of everything. They're getting robbed worse than anyone. The illegal immigrants are getting friggin' robbed. They're working for minuscule amounts of money and they're working themselves to death, and they'll put up with anything because they know they're illegal. You know what I mean? So, the people on the left need to get their heads out of their asses. The construction industry, you don't need illegal immigration to keep to keep our economy going. You have to be completely oblivious to think that. Like, the only people who think that are people, they're not in the blue collar world, because the people in the blue collar world know that illegal immigrants cannot work legally in the United States. So they have to take illegal jobs where they're getting completely robbed. Now, here's the thing. Without the illegal immigrants, those shit jobs wouldn't exist. Those people would have to pay better. Everyone's money would go up if there was no illegal immigration. Do you understand that? It's like, it's insane, dude. They've just got everyone so confused and so out of it. That's why when I see these supposedly panic-inducing headlines, I think to myself, good, let it collapse. I don't care. Like, it needs to collapse. It deserves to collapse. These people, if you can't maintain an economy in the richest, most fertile place on earth, you deserve to be ousted. Whatever system you have in place obviously isn't working. It needs to be dissolved. And trust me when I tell you, a better system is going to come into place. I mean, unless we're all just completely out of our minds at this point, which it's possible. But here's the thing. If everything went to shit, me personally, I'm not worried about it. I feel like I'm good with my hands. I'm smart. I'm strong. I'm whatever community of people I end up in, I'm going to be a benefit to them. So don't worry about external bullshit. Worry about yourself. Think about your strengths, and God forbid if everything did collapse or whatever, you're probably going to be all right. You know what I mean? So don't worry about it. Like I said, you're not in the desert. You're gonna be able to. There's food. There's resources. You're gonna be all right. So don't let these people put you in a panic, because they're not being honest with us about anything. So I barely pay it any mind. I don't care. I really don't care what happens. I know I'm gonna be all right, and I know most people are gonna be all right, but to be totally honest, I don't think it's gonna come to that anyway. That's the thing. They are inept and they are stupid, but are they inept and stupid enough to just oust themselves, to just let everything go to shit, and then they're out on their asses? Because if they do fail at that level, ain't nobody gonna let them be in charge again. You know what I mean? So personally, I'm not too concerned. I think most of the time they're just trying to keep everyone in a state of fear, because when people are afraid, they can't think. So it's panic. You know what I mean? If you're panicking, you're not going to be able to think straight, and you're not going to be able to make good decisions. I'll never forget one time I was getting on the train. Where was this? It was around Times Square somewhere, and I had just gotten my favorite food around Times Square, and I was heading back up to the Bronx to eat it. I just wanted to get on the train and go back to the Bronx, and these people were, they had their stroller with the kid in it, and they go to push it onto the train, and the front wheel goes between the train and the platform. All they had to do was lift the front of the stroller and put it in. But they started panicking, and they're trying to push it and pull it and push it and pull it. And all the people around them, like, everyone goes into this panic as if the train is going to take off and everyone's going to die. Everyone's going to get grinded up in between the train. I didn't even get involved because I was angry, to be honest. But I was like, if these people would just stop and think for 1 second, they'd realize that all they have to do is pick up the front of that stroller and put it in the train. But what they're doing is, in their state of absolute panic, they're trying to push it, it's not going. They're trying to pull it, it's not going. And they're just going back and forth. And I'm sitting there just like, I just went and got on the train in another spot. Here's the other thing. The train is not gonna take off with a crowd of people panicking at the door. So, you know, like, it's not like the guy, you know, controlling the train is that oblivious to where there's a crowd of people outside one of the doors screeching and screaming and pulling and yanking on the stroller. He's not just gonna take off in the middle of that. And, you know what I mean? And even if he did, ain't nothing gonna happen. That wheel would have popped off that stupid stroller, and that would have been the end of it. But you know, and I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, like, wow, panic really just, it drops your IQ down to like fucking, like, monkey levels. You know what I mean? Like, they were in such a panic that they couldn't see the most obvious, simple solution, you know? I mean, I guess eventually they figured it out, but I was just like, I just couldn't believe it. And I didn't want to get in the middle of it because I would have had to, like, push my way in there and, like, start yelling. I was like, oh, fuck this shit, bro. Like, I'm just gonna get on the train over here. Like, I know they're gonna figure it out in a couple of seconds, you know? But I'll never forget it, because I was like, wow, that state of panic, it really just blanks out the minds, you know? So that was a lesson for me. And I've been panicked before too, you know what I mean? You got to realize that it's the worst state of mind to be in. So don't let these headlines and don't let these people put you in a state of panic, because you're going to be all right. I don't care what happens, you're going to be all right. I promise you're going to be all right. This whole system that you think everything, don't worry about it. The system is hurting you anyway. So, and here's the other thing, it probably isn't going anywhere. They're not going to let their own system collapse. They absolutely need it. Without it, they're done, you know? So don't even pay these fools any mind, dude. You know what I mean? And that's all they are, is a bunch of fools. And I know people love Trump and I know people love DeSantis, but I gotta say, I don't have much faith in either of them, because here's the thing. I believe anyone who was actually going to fix things and make things right would have no chance. They wouldn't let him run for office. You know what I mean? All this big show with January 6th and all that, they do all this shit. To me, it's all contrived. I don't believe any of it. They do all this shit so that you really think like, oh wow, Trump is a revolutionary. Like, I don't think so. I think if he really was a revolutionary, they would have either took him out, or he wouldn't even be able to run. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm kind of trying to, I'm gonna try to make like maybe a shorter video on this one to see how it does. Because not everyone wants to watch half-hour videos. I might make another channel for just like, I'll cut down 10-minute videos and see how that does. But we'll see. Yeah, maybe I should make another channel and just call it Joey the Gypsy Clips, and then just do like the same videos, except it's not a half hour, it's just like a 10-minute highlight reel of the video. We'll see, I don't know. But I'm just curious to see how the video will do if I do less than a half hour. But I do have more to say on this subject. One of my problems is I just have a lot to say, you know what I mean? That's why every one of my videos ends up being about a half hour, because once I see 30 minutes, I'm like, all right, it's time to cut it off. But I could keep going on, like, because I'm a deep thinker and I have a lot of things written down that I've been wanting to say these things for a long time, but in person you can't just sit there and babble in someone's face for a half hour. But on YouTube I can do that, and it's not a rude thing to do. So that's what I do. But the whole point, my whole point that I'm trying to make is, don't worry about these panic-inducing headlines. You are going to be all right. I'm going to be all right. And just don't sweat it, because the system ain't helping you anyway. You know what I mean? Eventually, ideally, I would like to go get a big, huge piece of land and start my own community on it that is completely self-sustained, where we grow our own food, we have our own livestock, and then we really don't got to worry about nothing. And I mean fortified. I want a wall around my land, and you know, I'm not gonna sit here babbling about my plans to the world, but eventually I want to start like my own little city-state. You know what I mean? And everyone is welcome, as long as they're not a violent, evil person. Anyone who's a reasonable person who I can reason with, I can live with them. You know what I mean? That's the difference between us and the animals. We can reason with each other. We don't have to agree on everything, but I just can't have people in my community who are going to be screwing us all over for their own benefit. You know what I mean? So, and it's not even in our nature to be that way. It's in our nature to be cooperative, you know? Otherwise we'd still be living in caves. You know what I'm saying? So they've got us all isolated, so we have no faith in anything, and we're all just being fooled. You know what I mean? Look, if their stupid little system collapsed, you're gonna gravitate into a community of people, and it's gonna be we're all probably gonna be better off. So, and they know that. That's why they're not gonna let it happen. But let me tell you something. Don't worry about it, because it's like I said, I don't care what's going on. There's still gonna be opportunities, and we're in the richest, most resource-filled land on planet Earth. So don't worry about it, dude. We're gonna be all right. We're gonna find a way. We don't live on the moon where there's no resources. We don't live in the Sahara Desert where there's no resources. We live in the richest land on Earth, and there's resources everywhere. There's resources right outside my window right now, even though they're only being used for concrete and dumpsters and parking lots. Tear that shit up and watch me turn it into a place where I could feed 100 people a week. You know what I mean? Anyways, I guess that's about it for this video. I tried to make it a little shorter, but it ended up being about a half hour anyway. I guess I'll watch the video, see if it makes sense. You know, I do believe that what I'm putting on Patreon would help a lot of people realize that there's no reason to panic, that there's other forces at work, and you know, here's the thing, all thoughts are creative, so don't be negative. Don't think negative, don't worry. If you have negative thoughts in your head, just control them. Change them to positive thoughts. And the more you do that, the more positive your thinking is going to be, and the more positive things you're going to manifest into your life. All thought is creative. Remember that. So don't let the negative thoughts dictate your existence. When it's called working on yourself, man. And this is off my Patreon. So don't think negative thoughts. Don't worry about it. If negative thoughts arise in your mind, recognize them for what they are and think to yourself, is this what I'm trying to manifest? No, it's not. What's a better way to think of this? You know, what's a more positive spin I can put on this negative thought? So anyways, I guess that's it for this video. Next video I'll put up in a couple of days. Damn, I was trying not to make a half-hour video. We'll see. So yeah, next Patreon video will be up in a couple of days, and the next YouTube video will be up in a couple of days. So everybody have a good one. Don't take everything so seriously. This whole thing is just a game anyway, dude. It's a game. So play the game and enjoy it and have fun, and don't worry about it, because it can be fun. Hardship can be fun too. I'm speaking from experience. It's an adventure. So everybody have a good one. Thanks for the subs, likes, comments. Thanks for the tips. Thanks for the Patreon support. I appreciate every single one of you. I know I was bitching and whining about YouTube. I'm always going to make YouTube videos. Always. I enjoy doing it. And I don't care what the situation is. I'll always be making YouTube videos. I appreciate every single one of you. I really do. And I appreciate YouTube, even though I don't like the way they try to censor my speech and shit. They're giving me an opportunity to reach a lot of people, and I do appreciate that, and I appreciate them for it. So everybody have a good one. I'll see y'all on the next one. Alright, so I just watched the video and I want to add this in. Look, if you want, you know, whatever sets your mind at ease, have some supplies, be ready for anything. I'm the type where I'm ready for anything. That's why it's easy for me to say I'm not concerned, but there's probably people out there who are not ready for anything. You know, my advice is get ready for anything. Not that I think anything is going to happen. I just think it's smart to be prepared for any circumstances. So my advice is learn basic survival skills, and you know, get some canned food, get some dehydrated food, whatever. But here's the thing: if everything did just collapse, we're not all. We're this way of life is not gonna happen anymore. Everyone's not gonna be just solo, sitting in their houses and ignoring each other. We're all gonna have to come together in communities and tribes. So, you know, it's probably better off that way. It's my whole point. But I don't think it's going to happen anyway. But just, you know, be prepared. And if you're a resourceful, smart, hardworking person, any group of people you end up with is going to benefit from your presence. So be that type of person. If you are that type of person, you don't got to worry. I consider myself to be that type of person, so I'm not too concerned. I know that I can, you know, whatever people are around me, we're all going to be all right. You know what I mean? So be that type of person. You know what I mean? Be the best person you can. That you can't control what the rest of the country is going to do. You can control what you're going to do. So be the best person you can. Be the most useful, smart, skilled person that you are capable of being, and you ain't got nothing to worry about. You know what I'm saying? So that's my whole point. Don't let them fill your head with panic and negative thoughts. Anyways, I'm just gonna add this to the video. Everyone have a good one.